All right, good morning, guys. I need to go ahead and edit this because I just can't start a stream without something being fucked up. There we go. All right, so last week we worked on the custom code console. We got its console log working. Everything was good to go. And then I realized that I need to go ahead and test the permissions on it. So I went ahead and wrapped up a neat little tidy fetch request here. And as you can see, custom code editor, this is just some HTML, and it makes an example request to OAI and has a little console set up for it. And the output looks like this, right? So we've got, oh man, that is not lined up at all. Anyways, there's an input box here that we can go ahead and put some text into, and then the response is output under that. We do have one problem though, in that it doesn't look like our iframe is set up to run the permissions from this, right? Blocked from submission because the forms frame is sandbox and the allow forms permission is not set. So I need to go in and I need to hit the allow forms permission and edit our code so that it does that properly. And then we should be able to juggle those OAI requests as well as any other requests coming out from like Novel AI, or if we want to poke Claude or anything like that, all of that we can do from here. So it's coming along, but it's not quite set. Now I will say this, you may be sitting here going, oh God, how can you test an OAI request? Mostly because there is, where is it? I know it's, here we go, authorization, your API key. Notice there's no API key here. It's because we can go ahead and basically do a dry fire request to OAI, where we send it a request knowing that we don't have a proper key hooked up, and it's going to go ahead and let us know that on the return, right? Just like if we connected to a depreciated model, it would let us know that we're not connecting to the model proper. The only goal is to get a response from OAI at this point. That way, when I'm off stream, I can go ahead and test plugging in that key token thing. There we go. Authorization key. Yes. I'm so here today. Hey, good afternoon, Bimble. I'm glad you could join us. I'm just like slowly getting into all of the things and opening stuff up. I actually was pretty surprised when I was testing the console log this morning and figured out that we didn't have the permissions set properly, because I was hoping that this would be slightly easier to get on top of, but no, I was wrong. So I've already gone ahead and gone back to our original place in GPT, prompted it about this, and I actually haven't even looked at the answer, but I'm pretty sure we're just gonna go ahead, yeah, and change some scripts around, which I don't even have open, and we should probably do. So, oh man, I'm gonna be so honest with you guys. Today is packed, so I probably won't be here for any longer than like 30 minutes to an hour. And it's not because I don't want to be here, but I have a seminar today that originally got moved from yesterday. And then right after that seminar concludes, I have to go ahead and have an interview with one of the connections my mentor set up for me. So I don't exactly know how that'll go. She's just somebody local that I can go ahead and talk to that has some additional connections. So it could be really good. It could go absolutely nowhere. So it's just one of those things where I'm gonna kind of have to see what's up and what she's wanting to talk about specifically. So I'm gonna have to do those things, and then yeah, and then after that I got some personal stuff I will have to attend to. But one of the things I want to do in my off time this week, so so I love having you guys on stream and stuff like that. I think one of my only gripes about streaming, especially compared to I do sound like an old lady saying this, how it used to be back in my day when streaming was originally a thing, right? Now, when streaming first became popular, before a lot of the music companies realized the money that was behind it, you could realistically stream on Twitch, make a living, and just blast copywritten music all day. That was just like a thing. So I would very regularly get on and have playlists going and things like that. And that's the one thing that I miss here is being able to have some background music. So I've been working um the last couple days. I figured since I am doing this seminar on Leo, it only makes sense if I'm able to make a little bit of music with AI. So that's one of the things that I've been doing is just setting up all of these different tracks, and eventually I'll just put them on like a big loop playlist for the streams. That way we have this nice, calm, and chill background noise, and that way when we hit dead air for 5 seconds like this, it sounds just a little bit nicer, and it makes me feel less rushed in terms of talking. So I'm I'm excited to go ahead and get that together so we can have just as much vibes, and I can chill out to some music. Also, I think I got one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten from somebody yesterday. After they looked at it, I got the message and it just says, "Is there anything you won't take AI to?" And the answer is no. No, I'll take AI to anything and everything, and it's gonna be awesome. Okay, make more music. Oh yeah. Um, I eventually am gonna get to the point where I can probably start doing some of that on stream. And I think that that would be neat. I need to go ahead and work on like a couple of the like licensing rights and figuring out which models I like best and things like that before I do it. But I think that'll probably be one of the other things that we do is just like the general sound design, because obviously if we move into another game, we're gonna have to have some music, and instead of having somebody else compose it, we may as well do it ourselves. That being said, uh two things got tossed around to me lately, and one was a Lovecraft style Pokemon game, and the other one was a Lovecraft style Final Fantasy game, turn-based RPG. And both of those things just made me really excited, and then proceeded to have me go off on this very, very big tangent about Palworld, and now I have to get it off my chest to all of you guys, because I'm just not seeing it get better every time I see the game. So, okay, I'm sorry, I told you guys I was gonna rant about this today, and it's just gonna be a thing. And I can't even. Yeah. Okay, so where to start? Pal World, right? I Pokemon with guns. It's really neat. Everybody is really enjoying it. I am really enjoying watching some of you nerds play it and, enslave all the cute things and put them to work. It's really funny. So the game is just fantastic, right? I guess the problem has come up recently with one, people being worried about lawsuits, and two, like the copyright issues and is it too close, yada yada. And I wasn't really worried about it too much from a game design perspective. Both companies are in Japan, and this isn't anything that the Pokemon Company and Nintendo haven't dealt with before in the past, right? So I didn't think this was actually going to go anywhere. Oh no. Every time I look at the game, I'm like, yeah, there might actually be something to this. And here's why. Okay, I'm gonna pull up an extra text tab to start. So I don't know if you guys know this, but originally it was Digimon versus Pokemon that drew the biggest comparisons, right? Now during the 90s and even the early 2000s, people would talk endlessly about how Digimon was going to get sued out of existence because of Nintendo, right? There was a ton of talk about it in the gaming community. Every time Digimon like came back with a new series or something like that, it just kind of like reinvigorated that argument, right? Well, just like the company or the people who own Palworld, Digimon is also based in Japan, but Nintendo never actually filed a lawsuit. Like they didn't. They never filed a lawsuit against them. There was a lot of talk about it and a lot of conjecture in the gaming community, but nothing ever actually came from it, right? Palworld, I wonder if Palworld is going to be a little bit different. And there's a few different reasons as to why. Yeah, the biggest are the artistic similarities. And oh, I cannot spell. Digimon had the advantage of being very visually distinct from Pokemon, right? There's just you can't compare a Digimon to a Pokemon and say that they're in the same style. A lot of what makes an art style is things like proportions, and line weight, and color schemes. These three things really help to flesh out an art style, and Digimon didn't end up really having any major overlap of these things when it came to Pokemon. So even though they were both based off of these little creatures, there was enough distinction between the franchises. I feel like not just for the story, but also for the artistic similarities, right? So Palworld by comparison. Oh, now I'm gonna go ahead and switch over from GPT and show you guys. Cause I came prepared for this. Okay, where's my other thing? Here it is. And if you could go ahead and just switch that out, not to the notepad, or why does everything have to be difficult? That's my question for you. Why does everything have to be difficult? There it is. Okay. So first thing I bring up to you is Electabuzz Totoro. Like that is 100% what this is. But more so than anything, when you look at these 3D sprites compared to Pokemon's 3D sprites, you see a very similar distinction in terms of the proportions and the line weights that they're using, right? So already we're not off to a great start in terms of offering some artistic differences, but that was entirely the point of Palworld, right? Palworld was supposed to be appealing because Pokemon that or pals that look like this replicate Pokemon that look like this. So this is Lilignan, and Lilignan is like a Gen 2, Gen 3 Pokemon, and she's a lily with a pale body, green color scheme, and an orange flower, right? Now notice Pokemon has this thing and affection with pastels. That's just one of the things that they really enjoy. And notice that this character has the same. We're talking about the green color scape with the white underbody and the orange creamsicle colored flowers. These are almost note for note the same color palettes for the same concept for the same PAL. Now, the difference here is that I've noticed what they're doing when they're designing these things is that there's a pattern to the design. You're going to notice with artists in game design and in almost every other subject that there are signatures to everything, right? And Palworld hasn't escaped that, though the signatures I'm about to talk about are very subjective. From looking at Palworld's design, it looks like what happens is Palworld tries to either mesh two Pokemon together to create a new pal, right? Or they are meshing together two popular designs. In this case, this one would be like an Electabuzz and a Totoro, whereas this one right here is obviously, it's literally just Gardevoir and Lilignant tossed together. I wish I could say it wasn't, but what has ended up happening from the looks of it is if you look at the models and you compare them to Pokemon models, it looks like different assets have essentially been taken and moved around. Like, imagine building up a big old graphics library of arms and legs, torsos, eyes, and extra little features, right? Now, you might make some minor alterations to them, but you're still keeping the same proportions, the same color palettes, and so on, and you're just mishmashing them together. And that is essentially how you've got Palworld's design process. This right here was the first one I saw that I knew there was going to be a problem with, because the moment I saw this, somebody sent it to me and I said that is, so first off, that is a very, very slight alteration of Miss Magius's hat, and I can tell just from looking at this that this is going to be a dark special type. And I've never played the game, didn't even realize that there was a type system with physical and special splits, right? And so that's another thing. You're talking about not just, let's see here, where a Palworld by comparison has the same color scheme, same proportions, the same framework for battling, for typing, and then a physical special split, right? These are all the same things that Pokemon has. They use a ball capture system. That's neither here nor there, really. I don't really care so much about the ball capture system as I do these other very notable things that has made Pokemon a super distinct game, right? That doesn't mean that I think Pokemon is a great game, by the way. I stopped playing Pokemon after Diamond and Pearl, and I'll always be like a Gen 1, Gen 2 fanatic. So that's probably something to keep in mind as I go through these designs and I just hammer them for their similarities. Because obviously they're supposed to be similar. Like, the game designers knew very much what they were doing when they took some of the exact same hex color codes from Pokemon and went ahead and transferred them, their palettes over into Palworld, right? That's something that makes things very, very similar. The same thing goes for the art style. Like, one of the things that Pokemon does, this is for the 2D animation, is they've got these really heavy line weights with these very big ornaments, these very big distinct features, right? That way they're readable. By comparison, Digimon, for instance, has a lot of very small distinct features and uses a much lighter line weight, and that helps to really separate the art style, in addition to the fact that Digimon uses a lot more, I'd classify it as like grungy colors, whereas Pokemon opts for a lot softer and bright neon color palette, because you have to bear in mind, like, here we go, Pikachu, for instance, one of the reasons that Pikachu is so well received is because when the Pokemon originally started airing, especially in the US, like, yellow is such a distinct color for people to pick up on. It draws the eye. So being able to it's actually the same reason that the Simpsons have a yellow color palette to their skin. So it's really important to keep in mind, like, those design choices in some cases are purposeful to go ahead and like draw somebody's eye in. The same thing is kind of happening in Palworld. They're making these bright colors, these big distinct lines, and all of those things are being drawn because they want you to go ahead and draw the comparison to Pokemon. I just think that this is a crazy amount of comparison to draw. Like, this is just Leafeon and Pachirisu shoved together. I saw the head of this one originally, and I was like, oh man, that's just a Leafeon clone. And then I saw the body in full form, and I was like, oh, actually, it's just Leafeon and Pachirisu shoved together. Which, again, this style of like designing Pokemon by merging them together is not new. If you guys, you can literally go to Google and look up sprite mashers for Pokemon, and people like play this stuff as games where they shove these two sprites together to see what they would look like. And that essentially is what Palworld feels like to me. It's somebody who has taken a sprite masher and put it on steroids with a little bit of human oversight so that it's not one for one, right? But artistically speaking, it still hits all the notes. And then there's this one. This is just Cranky Blossom. Like, that's all this is. This is just Cranky Blossom. Same color palette and everything. This is a Go-Go, but it's fire-based instead. Um, this is Lucario. This one I don't know how I feel about, okay? So if you're thinking, like, oh, there's no way that's Lucario. Oh, my friend, I'm so sorry, but that absolutely is their take on Lucario. So if you look here at Lucario and you see the distinct blue ears, so this is the same color palette, the same blue that Lucario has. That's just straight up ripped from it. It has the same proportions in terms of height and in terms of the ears, and instead, this cape is made to mimic this backflow that Lucario's mane has. Like, this is just Egyptian Lucario. This one is a what if Gyarados was actually a dragon type, right? This actually to me looks like a Digimon and a Pokemon meshed together. So I don't know how I feel about this one, because this one looks like one of the like OG Digimon. I think it was literally called like Sea Dragonmon or something like that. It was, man, Digimon names are ridiculous. Oh, sorry, Seadramon. There we go. Yeah, so this one reminds me of Seadramon because I just need to go ahead and like pull this one up to show you guys. Seadramon. Take a look at the images. And I'll just open that. There we go. Okay. So, that's not the right box. There we go. Here's the right box. Okay, so tell me that this thing doesn't look like a mix of Seadramon and Gyarados with the color palettes, right? So that's another I mean, if it's distinct enough that somebody who, one, has never played Palmon, and two, has not played any of the recent Pokemon games can literally look at this and go, I know exactly what you're doing with this. I know exactly what sprites were meshed together. I know what assets you're pulling, and it's easy to see like the replicated color palettes. I am genuinely concerned for Palworld because this is not a case like Digimon where they were looking at artistic distinction and distinction in playstyles. So I do think that there's an unfortunate case here to be made, because as much as it might frustrate Nintendo to see this, right? This is good competition, quite frankly. This is something that they should be able to look at, and not only look at what the fan base wants, but also look at the direction that they're heading and seeing if those things are meshing well together, right? So I really am concerned because I think that Palworld might fall into the same trap that one of their modders did. So Nexus Games told Palworld flat out, like, we're not hosting your mods here. And a lot of that is because of it's got to be because of all of the legal trouble that's going on right now, right? There's just so much going on in terms of that sphere. And Nintendo's even started going after modders for Palworld who are making Palworld pals into Pokemon. Why? Because it is surprisingly easy to go ahead and modify the game to do that, and not for any other reason than then it's set up exactly like a Pokemon game, and you don't have to change anything aside from the sprites, really. Sorry, the 3D models, these aren't sprites. Despite Pokemon being old, it I am aware there is a thing called Pokemon. My understanding ends there, otherwise I'm lost here. I'm sorry, Pimple. Basically, all you have to know is that Sue Happy Company goes after indie company. Like that's it. That's all it is. And it's because the indie company is literally poking the bear with a stick. Like I don't want to be that blatant and be like the devs know what they're doing, but dude, the devs knew what they were doing here. That's the entire like success and brand of the game is Pokemon with guns. And I think it's kind of hard for them to get away from that, especially if Pokemon decides to bring them to court. Again, this has nothing to do with like just a design or just a color scheme or just a framework. It is all of those things in total that end up making this kind of questionable and sketchy, especially when you consider the fact that there's no such thing as fair use in Japan. Like, you own your intellectual property, period, dot. If somebody doesn't pay for the licensing rights and makes something that infringes on your copyright, you are just well within your right to go ahead and take them to court. And you know what? Nintendo is happy to do that. They have proven that time and time and time again. So I just think it's one of those things where if it was just one of these things, if it was just the art style, just the battle systems, just the quote unquote gyms, right? It wouldn't mean anything, but it's all of them. So I think that there's some legitimate reasoning for people who are playing the game right now that say that they're playing the game because they expect the service to be shut down. I don't necessarily think that that is going to happen anytime soon, but I do think that that is a very real long-term possibility for the game. Surfing in the wave of the magical creatures battle without looking like a copy is a hard task. Bakugan was also a Pokemon copy. Right. So you're right. It is definitely a hard ask, right? Pokemon is so distinct in what they do and so prolific that everybody knows Pokemon, everybody knows their style and that system, and it's just become synonymous, even though they weren't even necessarily the first one to do a lot of the different things that they brought together, right? No way they didn't know what they were doing. I kind of feel like they're capitalizing on the fact that Pokemon games are being criticized a lot more now. And that's, I gotta be honest. Yeah, that about sums that up very concisely, Moon. Like I feel that that's pretty much exactly what they're doing. And Pokemon has for I'd say probably about the last 10 years or so really rested on their laurels as a company and a franchise. Jess pointed out earlier about one of the differences between Digimon protagonists and Pokemon protagonists is the fact that in Digimon they get older, right? They do follow like some kind of canonical storyline in with that. But it took like what 20, 30 years for the Pokemon company to go ahead and retire Ash and Pikachu, if for no other reason than just the insane popularity of the franchise. They got complacent, they got happy, they were happy to go ahead and with it. Here's okay. I gotta pull out. I gotta pull out the sheet. So Pokemon the show versus Pokemon the game. This is where they lost it. All right. So with Pokemon the show, they they leaned in full board to what Pokemon was. They were totally self-aware and they leverage that, right? So every season, for the most part, and every movie plays out relatively the same. You go through, you do your battles. Ash looks like he's doing so well, and then eventually he ends up getting walloped before he can actually be the champion, right? While supporting his friends along the way, blah blah blah. That's just standard Pokemon formula. And then uh, you look at the game the last 10 years, and instead they just took a total left turn and they went ahead and said, you know what, those 2D sprites that have been doing so great for us, we're actually going to move to 3D, and then we're going to shift that even more, and we're going to go to an open world environment. Oh yeah, also we're ditching all of that turn-based stuff, so now we're a real-time strategy game potentially. Um, in some aspects, I think if I remember correctly, they're now merging they're merging RTS and turn-based, right? But my point is that Pokemon the game took a total left turn from what Pokemon the show did. The show leaned into what Pokemon was. You can say it's boring for as long as it went on, right? But Pokemon the game, by comparison, while still having, and I have to stress this, the same fan base, went ahead and said, we're going to do the exact opposite approach in terms of design and expect that it's going to work for us. And and sure, maybe at a higher level that was smart to go ahead and take the franchise and fork it both ways to see which one worked best. But honestly, both of these flopped, and none of it was really received well, right? Because if Ash was going to go ahead and go on a journey for 20, 30 years, just let him keep going ahead and doing that, right? There was no reason to go ahead and stop things there. It felt like a very strange conclusion for a lot of fans, in terms of how they had handled the timeline, right? Whereas Pokemon the game was just like, fuck it, we're not actually Pokemon the game anymore. Screw your 2D sprites, and screw your turn-based system, and screw your RPG style, and screw your Pokemon marts. Did you know that Pokemon marts aren't even a thing in the game anymore? They combine them with Pokemon Center. That was just this is what I mean. Like I'm absolutely just like a Gen 1, Gen 2 fangirl who's gonna sit here and bitch the entire time about where Pokemon is now versus where they were and how, yeah, that's all I got. Can they claim satire? I hear they merged also mock another computer game too in Palworld. Yeah, so satire. I don't know. Ooh, Fortnite? Is that what it is? That's interesting. So, so, I don't know if you can claim satire in Japan, right? Because that's the biggest thing, is that this isn't like an international lawsuit or anything like that, or morals of multiple companies or countries coming into play. This just is happening in Japan. So I would have to look into that, but I don't think they have any like protection rules for satire. I'm not sure on that. Isekai also tried to pull a Pokemon move. Oh my god, the absolute audacity that Isekai had as a service. Where the hell do I start with them? Oh my god, you're gonna get me on another rant here. I adore what Isekai wanted to do. I really did. Uh, I just don't know how they thought that they were gonna go ahead and keep up with that as long as they did. This is why when these people try and leverage GPT to do spicy things, every one of them has like a under a year shelf life. Silly Tavern and OpenSea exist the way they do because the users are responsible for their content and it's not being curated, and nobody is being made to pay for the product. Right now Silly Tavern, trust me, Silly Tavern is far more profitable than like OpenSea and things like that. They've got a big dedicated fan base that goes ahead and supports them. But that's the thing. It's optional. Nobody is being made to pay $15 a month just to access GPT 3.5, right? So I think that is some of the problem here, is that OAI is going after a lot of these people who are trying to go ahead and just monetize the base service, right? And that really is something that they should be getting a much better cut of the pie for, but also they're not going to get into that if your content is mostly spicy. So it's just easier to go ahead and threaten lawsuits, pull it down, call it a good day. All right. I swear to you, I might actually be done ranting now about Palworld and Pokemon and Digimon and everybody stepping on everybody's toes. Also, I think the Fortnite comparison is interesting, Bimble, mostly because I would say in terms of the people, right? I'd say those that it I'm not actually sure. I was gonna make a statement, but I'm very careful sometimes about if I don't have enough information. Sometimes it's just better for me to keep my goofy ass little mouth shut, and this is probably one of those cases because the only thing that I know about Fortnite is that one, battle royale games are not really for me. Two, I'm not really good with the pew pews and the getting things in my crosshairs and stuff like that. And three, I do think that Fortnite did a really cool thing though. They actually have so Fortnite, right? They you get into like I think it's a battle royale, right? It's a group of like 100 players. So let's say you've got 100 players in one battlefield and you suck at this game. There is a chance that at times, most to all of your teammates are going to be bots. And they do this so that everyone has a chance to win. And not just a chance to win, but a chance to play in their skill range. A chance to play in their skill range without a bunch of smurfs, which is important, right? If people are coming down and they're really high level players, but they're playing on low elo accounts to try and just stomp you and have a feel good moment, that's super discouraging for a lot of individuals. So I really like what Fortnite did here, where sometimes you are in a game with all people, sometimes it's bots and people, sometimes it's all bots, but eventually you always get a win, right? You will, at the end of the day, you're not going to lose 100% of the time. And that is encouraging. It helps motivate people to keep going and to play more, knowing that at some point they're going to have a chance to shine and it's going to feel good. I do think MoMate has quite the security measures despite offering these big models. Yeah, MoMate has, I'd say they're probably the best example that I have of a paid front end at this point. But they're also a lot more authentic and honest about what you're getting, right? Nobody is claiming to have amazing, not safe for work interactions and it's going to be the best thing ever. And then you're paying $20 a month for Turbo 3.5, right? That would just be kind of ridiculous. MoMate is much more upfront. You get what you pay for with the package, and it's just I have a lot of respect for them and their developers. I'm kind of sad about the state of newer Pokemon games. They were peaking with the animated sprite work on Black and White, only to go to 3D not long after, without accounting for how much work it is. Same development time, despite far more complexity and the effort required for 3D. Yes. So Moon, you make an excellent point. So let's say you're the Pokemon company or any kind of game company. You are game company A, right? And you've been developing for 20 fucking years now. It's been a great time. You guys are considered a AAA studio. You guys have maybe not yearly titles that come out, but titles that are anticipated every 5 years or so, and it's a good time, right? Most of the people on board those are going to be people who have been there. They've been there for a while. This is how you get senior game developers and senior designers. By having a lot of the same staff on, you give the game the ability, the games, right, especially when they come in sequences, games become cohesive because you're talking about the same people with the same goals coming through to build something up on the framework that they've already done. So they fully understand the original intentions behind the creation better than anybody else could. And this is how you get people who, bless the souls at Blizzard, who got shit canned last week. Poor beans. So let's say you end up being there for 12 years, right? And then all of a sudden, the entire style of the game gets uprooted. And you talk about a 2D team now having to go ahead and work everything into 3D. And then the folks who handle the maps have to do the same thing. And even the framework of the game has to be adjusted because the environments are all different. So things like puzzles have to work different and everything else. And we saw such a janky transition to it. Now, Black and White tried so hard. You're absolutely right. They got a lot of solid work out of those moving 2D sprites. I thought that the animations to them were incredibly charming. And the way that they went ahead and essentially leveraged a quote unquote 3D world while keeping players in like that 2D field of vision was exceptionally satisfying. It felt like a Pokemon game from the classic era on steroids. And I think something like that now, if it was done properly by Nintendo, would probably be better received than a lot of the things that they're doing with the modern Pokemon games. But that's because we've got a romanticism right now of the retro games. But nothing showcases that better than Minecraft. Holy hell. Same development times despite far more complex. Nope, I already went over that. My brain. Um, but yeah, I mean, we see that with like Minecraft and what is it? Even Buckshot Roulette when that came out, man, those graphics look dated as hell, and I mean that in the best way, right? Some of these pixel games that we've got, what's the other one? Undertale. That's it. These are all like super charming games that have made really memorable impressions on people in the industry, not just myself. And they've also come at a time where it's a big impact to users because as time goes on, it becomes easier to go ahead and create some of those games. So you're getting a lot more creativity in the field and a lot more individuals getting past that initial barrier to entry. So I just think that we're seeing not only more games over time, but the quality of even these older systems is able to go up. Now that being said, I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to work with a lot of really, really old people in the military. And I swear to you, if you talk about this kind of stuff with them, there's like a little bit of confusion and frustration generally because the question is always the same. We started out with like pixel sprites and playing Pong. Why the fuck would you want to go back to that? And and I think the answer is really simple in that we want all of those things and that romanticized past and simplicity, but we want it with all of the complexities and the beautification that comes with with modernity, right? So I think that people just like it because they're able to mesh nostalgia with current technology. I think that's enjoyable for some people. All right. Okay, enough of this. I'm going to go ahead and actually switch us back over to this because, oh, nope, that's not it. Maybe it is. I'm going to switch us back over because I don't know if you guys know this, but it's been like 45 minutes and I've managed to pull out like one block of code. So let's go ahead and get back and see if we can't fix the iframe element in our output display. Is it going to be the output display? Oh, it is. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and boot this up. Appealing to nostalgia is a big force. Oh god, it really is. Like, there's almost nothing people won't do if it means feeling like they're in their childhood again. I prefer 2D Pokemon for sure, but I'd be more okay with 3D Pokemon if they gave it more time in the oven. SV is graphically kind of bleh. Some of the textures are too high or low quality compared to each other. Yeah, I agree with you. More time in the oven would probably have done a lot for the Pokemon games to go ahead and come together in a more cohesive fashion, right? I think that it's okay when you are a AAA studio that doesn't have to worry about finances like Nintendo. I think it's okay for you to go ahead and take a long time your on your game development cycles, right? Especially if you are transitioning from a different environment to a new environment. But I don't feel like every studio leverages that properly. And they were just so concerned about the Pokemon games come out on a scheduled time in a scheduled way, we'll be able to adapt. And it's just, yeah. Okay, let's see here. Where are we? Use effect. What's the difference between these two? Now, user ref null if frame current src doc equals code, so that's correct. And then we want to return the iframe ref. Title output frame sandbox allows scripts from the same origin form. This looks like the exact same script, it's just that's not great. Okay, well, let's try and change our input and see if we can't have it resolve a different way. Because right now, it is literally just, and it always is with the iframe. It's just a permissions issue that's keeping us from making fetch requests to OAI. So this is our current output display.js. There we go. All right, now let's see what this kicks out. Ideally, I know it's like, oh man, I'm gonna spend like 15 minutes today, ideally, getting this fixed. We'll see. Hey, if not, I'm always gonna have some off time to go ahead and look at things, right? Speaking of which, after this week with streaming, I am probably gonna have to take just a little bit of time off and mostly, there we go. Include the allow form section. Perfect. And I just need a little bit of time off. I got some stuff going on in real life that I want to go ahead and get a handle on, and that's probably just going to mean a few days of not doing things. I am going to go ahead and compensate for that, though, by having like some shorts and some pre-rendered videos to toss up and some music on like a day-to-day basis so that there will still be uploads, but that it won't require me to directly be hands-on, and it's something that I can prepare ahead of time while I'm doing some other things. Not that I don't love hanging out with all of you guys. All right, let's see if we've got Danger Boat edited. Let's go ahead and copy our custom code here and refresh the page. And we're going to go ahead and in the OAI API request example, I'm just going to put in a test submit it, and the response should be, there we go. That's what I was hoping for. Now, let's see if it shows it in the code. There we go. This is actually what I wanted to get. This is the only thing I wanted to get. So API from the local host has been blocked by a CORS policy, no access. This is actually not the error I was hoping for. Of course it would be a CORS error. I was hoping it would be a failed to fetch because there's no authentication key, but I'll take that. That's more than we were getting before. Sure. Can you resolve this error? Gotta keep that one short and sweet. And Bimble, man, I know you know my pain with the CORS error. I think we have been facing cross-origin resource sharing problems for like the last 4 months now. This was actually what kept us from doing a lot of things with novel AI, and I had to actually pay somebody to show us how to build a proxy server to go ahead and handle the CORS error. Now, generally, I understand that I understand how to get around these things because the proxies are surprisingly simple to set up now. But yeah, that's what I was waiting for, is the no CORS mode. We're actually going to go ahead, and I don't want to go ahead and use a proxy server, though that is an approach in the iframe. Since this is going to be run locally, I just want this to go ahead and be a no CORS approach, even though it's not considered the most secure thing. Again, this is why it's not enabled on the site. It's just because it poses like some legitimate dangers to us and other people, but running it locally on your machine, it's pretty hard to fuck that up. So instead of prompting it, again, I'm going to edit my last prompt to include no CORS mode because we are going to go ahead and trim down the context a little bit like that. So let's see here. Please edit the iframe to enable no CORS mode since this is run locally and internally it's far more secure. Sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to like reason and coax GPT into doing things, so I'm going to kind of soothe it a little bit here and tell it that it is actually okay to set our script into no CORS. Yeah, I'm sorry, Bimble, I'm like giving you war flashbacks right now dealing with this, my dude. Alright, this is gonna be the last shot, and then I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle after this, because me, I have that rescheduled presentation to give in a minute, not a minute, in like 10 minutes, and then, yeah. Oh, what is happening? To solve the CORS issue, consider making the API request from a server-side oh, don't you dare. I know you did not just. Server-side proxy, use API directly from server-side, CORS configuration on the API server. Updating the iframe, not a solution for CORS. Why? Regarding your request to set no CORS mode in the iframe, this mode is actually set on individual fetch requests in JavaScript, not in the iframe itself. Oh. Well, I guess I'm going to have to look at some different workarounds. So let me go ahead and I'm going to do one last thing. Let's go ahead and toss in our script. So if I'm reading this right, I may actually need to change the fetch request to get around the CORS error here. So how would I change this in our custom code console? And hey, if I'm wrong, the only thing I'm going to do is just back up this chat a little bit and restart it at a different point. We'll go ahead and get some more stuff rolling. But Yeah. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here while this rolls. So I have a couple of minutes to go ahead and set up the next presentation and the gray matter demo for Leo. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I don't know what tomorrow is. I think tomorrow's Thursday. Is tomorrow Thursday? I think so. If it is, I'm doing TCG stuff. If it's not, I'll figure something else out to occupy my fucking time. I'll see you guys later. Bye.